Alright, so now that we have the Jaguar head unit out of the car, what we're going to go ahead and do is take the back plate off. We're going to basically swap the guts over to the new one. So this is a T8 size bit, and mine took quite a bit of muscle to get them off, so I'd recommend you use something that has a good handle, or if you have the key style, the L key style, that would be good to break them off. Once you break them up, they're pretty easy to unscrew, so that doesn't seem to be a problem. Okay, so this unit, rip this part off. There's a ribbon cable here. Went ahead and pulled out. As you can see, it was attached right there. There's a locking mechanism on it. I simply just gave it a pull. So let's make sure that we're careful with the orientation of the ribbon cable when we put it back in. Alright, so I don't believe we have any use for this part at this point. So what we're going to go ahead and do is remove the boards inside to be a different size. These silver ones are T10s, looks like. Two holding in the forward under here. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holding in the other board, and that looks like a T8 size again. Alright, that looks like all of the bolts for this piece. There are some not really clips, but plastic anchors on the sides there. You just gotta kind of pull up. There we go. Is the main board. Now we have even more little screws. Okay. Yeah, okay. So these two boards are connected together by a built-in pin system, pretty much. So then you'd have it looking like that from the back, and what we're essentially going to do is just put this stuff back in this way. So now we're going to go ahead and take the Merryway unit, just held in very loosely. I think I only received, I guess we had some additional screws in the box that I'm assuming that's what we'll use those for, is the sides here. When I received this, there was only 2 bolts inserted here. Alright, so here is essentially the same piece. Not quite the same, but same enough. Okay, so we got the holes lined up there. Got 4 bolts, so we're going to go ahead and move this out of the way. It's a little weird if you try and set it down. Obviously you have the connections back there which are protruding. So we'll do this in the air first. Putting our, oops, wrong bolt. Don't do that. Putting our T8 size bolts back in now. Make sure it's tight, but you don't want to be cracking down on the board by any means. Alright, so that's our first board installed. We have our connections showing proudly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the other board on top. Now one thing that's going to be interesting is we need to make sure that we get this connector here to mate up properly down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm put it on there and give it a little push. Yep. So once you do that, you can feel it slide in, and now it's steady. You see? So even though it's not even bolted down or anything, it's not coming out. So we're connected up there. We're going to go ahead and obviously put all of our bolts back in. Okay, that should do it. These 4 bolts are for the assembly to mate onto the main board. So now comes the interesting part. Now Rick and I spent some time on the phone. He had a capacitive touch model, and his ribbon cable that he got with Merryway was a 80 centigrade cable. Now you can see that here they've sent me 105 centigrade. The voltage rating is the same. And one other interesting part we saw on his board was that it looked like one of the circuits had shorted. And I want to say it was one of those circuits right around here. So what I'm doing now is I'm giving it a good look over to make sure the circuits look good and that there is nothing that could become a potential problem here. Okay. I'm fairly happy with it. It looks fine to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do this thing. Now, like I said earlier, the ribbon cable orientation I think is pretty important. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. So we're going to put this ribbon cable back in. Okay, so basically what you do is, I don't know if you don't have any experience with ribbon cables, there's usually a clamp on the cable. Here, I'll show you. There's a clamp usually on the cable portion itself. So this folds down, you insert the cable, and you clamp it shut. It's sort of like a locking mechanism. So what I'm doing here is I'm inserting, I won't be able to show you because of the way it's oriented, but I'm sliding the cable in and then I'm closing the clasp down on top of the cable. So let's go ahead and reinsert. Fingers crossed, but I believe that is about it. We're going to reinsert the 4 bolts here. Okay, well, you know, looks good to me, so let's see what happens. One minor correction, the way that I have the cables here coming out each side, they shouldn't be coming out of the side with the little pin guy. They should both be coming out of this side. So I'm just gonna quickly take the back off and move this cable over to the other side. Okay. Just gonna Move that over. I don't want to disconnect the ribbon cable or anything like that. Okay. Line your holes up and do it again. Alright, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go attach the wiring harness and put it in the car.